Hey, magical experimenters, Taylor Elwood here, and today I am shooting some videos for the next class that I'm creating, and I thought I would do an impromptu one on how to stop overthinking your magical work. Because the other day I got an email from one of you, and he talked about the fact that one of the things that he finds gets in his way with magic is overthinking his magical work. And, I get it. I mean, sometimes we are, putting together a magical working and we start overthinking the details, should I do this? Should I do that? Or maybe we do the magical work and instead of letting it go, we start obsessing about it, which is another form of overthinking it. Or we get caught up on some specific details. I mean, these things happen, right? That's just part of life. And so the question is, how do we deal with overthinking our magical work? What do we do to stop overthinking it? And I mean, the easiest response would be to be like Nike and say, just do it, right? Just do the magic. Just do it and don't get too fixated on it. I mean, write down whatever details you want and keep track of the results, but don't get too fixated on it. But of course, if you're somebody who tends to be a bit of an overanalyzer, which I've been guilty of on occasion, it's not that easy. So what do you do when you're doing magical work and you find that you can't stop thinking about the magical work, or you start overthinking the process because you're trying to get it just right? Well, in the latter case, you recognize it's perfectionism, and with perfectionism is the enemy of getting things done. So that's where the just do it perspective is helpful and useful, because let's just go ahead and do it. And in the case of the other thing where we're obsessing about stuff, we're fixating on it, we're overthinking what we've done, this is where what I like to do and what I developed many years ago, and it's applicable, is when I find myself starting to overthink or overfeel or anything about the magical working, I take those thoughts and emotions and I actually feed them into the magical work. And I do that as a way to take that energy that otherwise would be keeping the magic from happening or keeping it from fully activating, and I make it into something that feeds it, and it also takes away those thoughts and emotions, because instead of thinking or overthinking or overfeeling on the matter, instead what I'm doing is I am redirecting and rerouting those emotions and thoughts and actually getting things to happen. I like that approach because it's very hard, if not nigh impossible, to fixate on stuff when you have it set up that once you start to think about it, the magic automatically kicks in and feeds off of it. And I came up with that approach many years ago because I was going through a period where, I was doing magic and the results were fizzling, and I came to the realization, well, I keep obsessing about it. And I was like, well, I've got to do something about this obsession. And the best way to do something about an obsession is to find a way to either shift that obsession to something else, or going ahead and moving it into something else in a different way. Like moving it into fixating on something else, or moving it into the actual working itself. And I find that in my particular case, it's better to shift the magical work around, so that what ends up happening is the emotions and the thoughts end up feeding what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish. So if I start thinking about it, thinking, oh, did I do this right? Did I do that wrong? What ends up happening is those thoughts automatically get linked into the working, and the working just pulls those thoughts away, and I let it go. Or if I find myself feeling angry or tense or frustrated or something else, I just let those emotions go ahead and feed themselves into that magical working in order to allow it to do whatever it needs to do. And this becomes an act of releasing and letting go, because really, if we look at overthinking, overthinking is symptomatic of a need to be in control, right? I need to be in control of what it is that I've done, but the act of magic is an act of doing the magic and letting go of control, letting the magic do what it needs to do in order to get things to align and create the result you're looking for. At least that's my experience of it. For those of you who have a different approach, hey, that's great, but I'm just sharing with you like what mine is and why I do it the way I do it. So, in your own magical work, if you find yourself overthinking or overfeeling, try something along those lines. Like set it up in your magical work as a bit of programming, if you will, that when you start to think about it, or you start having emotions around it, those thoughts and emotions will get fed into the magical working. And that will then consequently allow you to let go and refocus on what's really important, which is living your life. Because really, the best thing that you can do once you've done some magical work is just go out there and live your life and let the magic work its way through your life, because you'll find yourself in the right place, the right time, if things have worked. And if they haven't, you'll be able to take a look at the results and figure out, well, what isn't working here, and then make some adjustments and changes. And that's my solution for overthinking it. All right, short, sweet video here this time, but wanted to share that with you guys since I was already shooting videos today, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.